Hey friends, my name's Steve Guttenberg and I'm the Audiophiliac, but you're on the right channel. This is Ken McAuliffe's channel. We're just doing some social distancing videos for each other. So anyway, I'm going to be talking about my favorite jazz albums of all time. And the most important one, the one that started it for me, was Thelonious Monk's Big Band and Quartet. And, you know, I got this record probably in early 1964. It was recorded in late 1963. I bought it as part of the Columbia House Record Club thing. It was like 10 albums for 10 cents, and you like got records every month. That was one of my picks. And I don't know, I just picked it because I thought it was cool, basically. But it changed my life. I would come home from school, and I'd play that record. And I played it, it was one of those kid things. I played it every day for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, a month, a long time. It was driving my mother crazy, but I got it. And when people used to say that, oh, Monk's music is angular and weird, I was like, no, I didn't find it weird at all. I just loved it. It just moved, it grooved. His swing, whatever it was, it reached me, it touched me, and it started me on this course. And it was amazing for me. And it was around that time I started listening to this one. This is the original Broadway show production, certainly not the current one, West Side Story. And it's jazzy, so it's not a jazz record, but the orchestra, the band on this album, on the Broadway show, was so intense. The drumming, the horns. On Cool, the song Cool, the gangs are snapping their fingers, unison snapping. And I once asked Ken about that. I was like, has that ever really been done before this? This was recorded in 1957 or 58 or something. And he didn't know. But the thing is, this is another record that spoke to me. And there's not that many Broadway shows that ever touched me the way this one did, that's for sure. And it was that orchestra. It just moved. It had this incredible swing, power, energy. I was just listening to it before I turned the camera on. It's like, wow. And by the way, one of the things that's extraordinary about this record, which is, you know, a whole Broadway show put on an LP, the whole thing was recorded in one day at the Columbia 30th Street Studios. It's just a staggering undertaking to get it all down. I mean, people used to take weeks and months to make records. This gigantic production was put down to tape, obviously analog tape, in one day. So while I'm tripping down memory lane, I have to bring out this Sinatra record. And it's not a concert record. My mother was a huge Sinatra fan, and this is actually her album. It's all beat up. This record also is from the early 1960s. And first of all, I love it, and Sinatra came late to me. So here, this is the gatefold. This is what a Frank Sinatra recording session looked like. There's a lot of musicians there. There's a lot of technical information here. Great microphones, recorded obviously to analog. It's a great sounding record. Not all of his records sound great. This one is up there. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's up there. But his voice, that orchestra, they just are perfection. So I didn't get it then. I didn't really get it when my mother was alive, but I got it now. I don't mean just the record. I just mean understanding Frank Sinatra and just how amazing he really is. Larry Coryell. Now, Larry Coryell, this is a greatest hits. I can't find any of my individual Coryell records, but Larry Coryell was about the same age as me. And he was an electric guitar player, electric jazz. And I used to see him at the Village Gate in New York City. And he played with distortion and feedback, and it spoke to me. Another jazz musician that spoke to me, and actually later on in my life literally spoke to me, because Larry recorded for Chesky Records, and I talked to him many times at those sessions, and we had some great times together. But in these days, I just went to see him a lot because he was relatable more than other jazz musicians at the time. This would be like 1969 or so. Next up, Ellington. Now, this record, I have a lot of great Ellington records. This one is special because on the very first track, he sings. He sings and plays this odd little tinkly keyboard called a Celeste. And he is just so hip, so finger snapping. I mean, it's just this groove that he lays out that's so beautiful. And he's, well, I wouldn't call it singing exactly, it's sort of talk singing, but still, it's Ellington. And you just listen to it and say, wow, I wish I could do that. Or I'm sure a lot of musicians wish they could do that. He's just epitomizes that thing that he does. It's so cool. So I got to talk a little bit about Miles Davis. I went to see Miles Davis with my girlfriend in 1971 or 1972. The music, I liked it, but I didn't understand it. I was overwhelmed by it. But the music, the band was basically this band, the On the Corner band, and it was a big rhythm machine, and it was overwhelming. But when Miles wasn't playing, he would walk over to the side of the stage and just stand there. And that's where we were seated, right at a table. This was a small club. I wish I could remember which club it was. It might have been the Vanguard, but I don't think so, in New York City. But anyway, he stood right in front of me, like 2 or 3 feet in front of me, and he had that red trumpet, that beautiful red trumpet with all these little filigree things painted onto it or something. And I was, wow, that trumpet just, the music got to me a little bit, but the trumpet was, yes, that's pretty amazing. So anyway, I wound up buying this record, which I don't know if I bought the record, how close it was to seeing him, but when I heard this one, On the Corner, which is a funky rhythm record, it's my favorite Miles Davis. Got to talk a little bit about Clark Terry. This is a Chesky Records album, and I happened to be at this session. I wasn't yet working for Chesky Records. That would happen later, not much later, but later than this. And it was a great vibe to the session. It was recorded in this beautiful studio, RCA Studio A on 46th Street in Manhattan. Huge space. Symphony orchestra was recorded in that room. And this quartet was smack dab in the middle of the space. So we had this huge room. You hear the room. It's recorded with one stereo microphone, an AKG C24. It's a You Are There. There's no mixing later on. There's not a big recording console with sliders and no, it's not like that. It's just like the loudness of each instrument, from the trumpet, the bass, the piano, the drums, was achieved by moving the instruments closer and further away from the microphone. That was how the mix was achieved. That's sort of an audiophile thing, but it was new to me at the time, and it was pretty cool. And the engineer, by the way, was my friend Bob Katz. Hey, I don't know if Ken ever did an episode focusing specifically on the contemporary label, the jazz label. And, well, if he hasn't, this is the start. And I'm going to start with Shelly Man and Andre Previn's My Fair Lady. This was recorded in 1956. It's stereo. That's really early for stereo, and it's really good sounding, like I was saying, about most contemporary sound above average. But Shelly Man, wow. I mean, I guess he is the man of West Coast jazz, right? So many great albums he did. And this one, well, it's definitely my favorite, and the tunes are great, and the sound is great, the space is great. It was recorded in LA, of course. Definitely, if you missed it, this is it. I'm giving you a notice here. Get this record in one form or another. Moe Allison, you guys know Moe's? Now, Moe's isn't strictly jazz. Give me a little leeway here. But I love jazz. I got 2 Moe's through The Who, of all people. They covered a Moe Allison song. God, I can't think of it at this second. But anyway, that's how I found Moe's. And once I heard his voice and once I heard his records, I was totally in. He made a lot of records for Atlantic. Sound quality is not great. There's a lot of distortion on his albums, but it doesn't matter. The music is so good. Talk about cool, man. That guy was super cool. He sounded black. Actually, that was part of his thing, that a lot of people, I guess, who weren't buying his records and never saw his face, assumed he was black. He was definitely not black, but he had a way with rhythm. I mean, I guess you know, for me, rhythm is a huge part of, I get into somebody or I don't. And starting, but you know, the beginning of this episode with Monk's rhythm, he just moves. He just has this, it's limber, it's fleet, it's just got this life to it that just turns me on. And again, Moe's has that too. It's certainly different than Monk. And his songs are so funny, like My Mind's on Vacation and Your Molecular Structure. They're not just clever, they're really so well written. They hold up. They've been covered by a lot of people, including Van Morrison, if anybody cares. But the point is, Moe's just is another biggie in my life. I think, as I like to say on my own channel, my work here is complete, and I do want to thank Ken for giving me space on his channel. I want to meet you guys face to face, so now I have. Ken's going to make a video that's going to run on my channel for my viewers, so it's good. It's social distancing at its best. It can't be more distant than talking to a camera. I'm in Brooklyn, Ken's in Manhattan. We're safe. We're definitely safe. And I hope you guys are safe out there in Jazz Vinyl Land. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you're back here on Ken's channel. And I hope some of you take a little peek over at my channel too. Thanks for watching.